Hi everyone, my name is Adrian. I'm one of the academic success coaches in a testing tutoring center, and what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is how to take good notes. Because as we go through our undergraduate and graduate career, it's super important to make sure that we identify how to take notes for particular classes, which strategies are going to be helpful and beneficial for us in order to retain and kind of review the information, as well as just identifying what notes are going to be appropriate to kind of gather and what information should we actually write down as we're attending classes and listening to our professors. So there's several different ways of taking notes, and we have some other additional techniques as well. But the first one that is pretty common is the Cornell Method, where basically you divide your paper into 3 different sections. So on the left column is what is called like the Q section, which is just any like questions you may have or headers that kind of correspond with your notes. On the right side of the paper is the note section, so you're writing down important notes that correspond with any of the questions that you have on the left side or on headers. And then at the bottom is a summary where you summarize whatever content you wrote down on your note section. Typically, that's a more sophisticated way of taking notes. But if you don't like the Cornell method, one common, most popular one is like just outlining, where you identify a specific type of hierarchy. For example, just writing down like numeral number 1, any information or like heading that you have for your notes, and then you're just writing down bulletin points of your notes at the bottom. And that tends to be a really common thing that a lot of students do, and a lot of information that we recommend to students as well that come into the academic success coaching sessions. But also another way to take really good notes, if you are a more visual person, is mind mapping. And what mind mapping is where you have like one main concept as a oval in the middle, and then you're just mapping all different keywords or terms that kind of associate with that main concept. So if there's not one particular way of note taking that you like, you can combine any of these 3, whether it's Cornell, outlining, or mind mapping. But it's super important to take in consideration some of the things when you're writing down good notes. So sometimes it's important not to write everything down, especially when you're in class with your professor, because that can tend to be very overwhelming. And we may not capture the main ideas or whatever information that's going to be important for us as we start studying for exams. But it's also important that as you're writing down your notes, make sure to abbreviate as much as possible. So sometimes you can come up with your own abbreviation. I know for me, for chemistry class, if I wanted to write down chemical reaction, I would literally write down chem, period, and then RXN to symbolize reaction. So there's different ways to kind of really take in consideration what is going to be some abbreviations that you're going to have for yourself. But also some important things to consider when you're writing down your notes is color coding. This is one thing I highly recommend a lot of students start coming in practice with academic success coaching to do, because when you color code, you can really identify, okay, what is something that I really need to focus on? What is the information that's going to be really important for me to know as I start testing myself and studying for my exams? So those are some techniques as well. But it's super important that as you're writing down your notes, that you're making sure that you're writing things down that you know is going to make sense to you later on. So once again, you don't have to write everything down, but the notes that you're writing are going to be important for you when you start testing yourself, as well as reviewing the information that's going to help you feel more prepared and successful for your exam. So if you have any other questions in regards to just how to take notes, what is a good strategy of note taking, please do not hesitate to make an appointment with the academic success coach.